Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the September 8th regular meeting of the Westchester Board of Trustees. Tonight we have two public hearings that will start at 7 p.m. Mr. Jones, roll call, please.
Yes, Mrs. Becker?
Present.
Mr. Wong?
Present.
Mr. Welch?
Present.
Please stand me, face the flag, and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first citizens' comment section, we didn't have anyone sign up this evening, so we'll move ahead to presentations. We're honored to have Christine Matisek, one of our friends from Liberty Township trustee, and she's going to speak on the Butler County Advisory Council for Elderly Services. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight. As Ms. Becker said, I'm Christine Matisek. I am a Liberty Township trustee, but I'm not in that capacity tonight. I'm here on behalf of the Butler County Elderly Services Program Advisory Board. So I would like to thank you and Westchester for your support over the years for our seniors and permitting me to speak this evening about our upcoming renewal levy. Butler County Elderly Services is funded by taxpayers of Butler County via the Senior Service Levy. I have provided you with a copy of our annual report and other materials, and if anyone else here would like some, I have extras with me. Just a little bit of background. Council on Aging of Southwest Ohio manages the elderly services programs via a contract with Butler County Commissioners. In addition, Lifespan, a local nonprofit organization, has a contract with Council on Aging to assess and screen potential clients and manage the care for clients in the program. Where I come in is I am a member of the advisory committee, and we are appointed by the Butler County Commissioners to help advise and oversee the programs. So who participates in the programs, why, and why it's so important that we have this renewal for the elderly services. Over 4,000 Butler County seniors are able to remain independent in their homes as a result of this program. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna, might be easier at this point. Here in Westchester, last year we served at least 90 residents here in Westchester. This year with COVID, the numbers have gone up, so I don't have those numbers yet. But again, these are individuals that instead of being in nursing homes or assisted living homes, they are able to stay in their own homes and maintain their independence, privacy, and connection to home and community. Some of them, if they were not able to do this, they would probably go on Medicaid, and the cost of their care would be higher for taxpayers, approximately 20 times higher than what it is with the services we provide in their homes. I'm just going to kind of put a name, and or not a name, but a face to what this means to people. A few years ago, I rode in with a volunteer for Meals on Wheels. And we met a number of people who were receiving the services. There was a couple in Liberty Township that kind of struck me as being rather interesting. They were in their mid-90s and still in their own home, still able to maintain most of their abilities, but they needed the assistance of the Meals on Wheels as well as a few other assistances with some daily needs. So what that means for them is they can stay there, their family can visit them. They really enjoyed the fact that they have somebody who comes in on a daily basis and gives them a little bit of company. So we, here in Butler County, we tend to think of this as a county that is, growing with young families and, moving in, and it is. But it's also aging. Approximately 20% of our residents are 65 and over in Butler County. Among this group, about 1/3 have a disability, meaning that they may need help to function independently. The fastest growing group of older adults includes people age 85 and over. This is the group most likely to need help from the Elderly Services Program. Butler County ESP clients are caught in the middle. with income too high to qualify for Medicaid, but too low to pay for private in-home care. The average monthly income of an ESP client is less than $2,000, for which they pay approximately $265 monthly in out-of-pocket medical expenses. 86% of clients are age 70 or older, and 56% live alone. More than 70% of clients are women. Due to declining health and mobility, ESP clients need help with basic activities such as housework, driving, bathing, preparing food, and managing medications. ESP clients need help, but they don't need a nursing home. And I don't know about you, but I know that nursing homes can be quite expensive, around $6,000 a month for an average nursing home. So, when you take a look at the services that ESP provides, the electric monitoring systems, which is lifelines, home-delivered meals, home care assistance, medical transportation, and home medical equipment, it can be quite inexpensive compared to being in a facility. In Butler County in 2019, the program delivered nearly 340,000 meals to about 1,800 housebound seniors. It provided more than 131,000 hours of home care assistance to 1,600 clients. This year, with the onset of COVID, our clients have been grateful for the delivery of meals and services. This has been literally a lifeline for them in that we've been providing packages of 14 days supplies of meals for emergencies. We are in the process of delivering our third round of meals to the clients so they have their safety net in case of an emergency. 85% currently have either exhausted or are close to exhausting their supply. That's why we're in the process of delivering a third round. We have also partnered with local restaurants who provide meals from time to time, which is a break from the normal routine and the normal food that is provided to the residents. Not only is the program compassionate, it is also cost-effective. It costs an average taxpayer an average of $295 a month to help a resident on elderly services program. So if you compare that to the $6,000 that it would normally cost for Medicaid in a nursing facility, $295 is quite a big savings. The program's annual report that I've given you includes information, and I hope you'll enjoy reading it. And the other thing that I want to mention is that the caregivers that work with ESP, they find it very rewarding to help our seniors in our communities because it does help them to stay in their homes and gives them that feeling of independence. So where does the funding come from to provide these services? With more than 90% of the funding coming from the Butler County Seniors Services Levy, we are asking this year for just a renewal to maintain what we've been able to do. We've been able to function quite well, and the seniors of Butler County have been very grateful for the support that this community has shown. Voters first approved a 5-year levy in 1996, then renewed it most recently in 2015 with approval of nearly 75% of voters. This levy this fall will be on the November ballot in Butler County. It is only a renewal, so technically it's no new taxes. It is a current 1.3 mil levy, so for a homeowner, it would cost a homeowner of a $1,000 home valuation $3.50 a month. So this is to provide the services for the elderly. If you would like to endorse this levy, we would be most grateful. We are also looking for sign locations, roughly 4x4s in Westchester, to let the public know. So any help that can be granted to our levy would be appreciated. Again, I want to thank you for your time and giving us the opportunity to talk about the upcoming elderly services levy and what it means to our residents here in Butler County. Again, it's on November's ballot, and I appreciate any kind of support that we can receive on this. Again, do you have any questions?
Any questions, gentlemen?
I have a question.
Yes.
Why is this administered, I know the Council on Aging is in Cincinnati, but why is it administered outside of Butler County? Do you know?
It is a contract by working with the Council on Aging. They have the staff and the knowledge and the know-how to put the stuff to get everything together. And so by partnering, it's just like anything that we do, you know, in our community. When you partner with somebody, there's a reason you partner with them. And they have the expertise. And so we don't have to duplicate.
Okay, and they have a fee for that?
That I'd have to check on. I do believe there's a small fee that, you know, to take care of their administration part of it all. But again, it has been a process that has worked through the Butler County Commissioners for a number of years.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a very active senior population here in Westchester
Yes, you do.
Township. How does Lifespan reach out to those seniors? How do they get in touch with them to make sure that they're getting the services that they either need or qualify for?
I will tell you from, you know, because I will tell you, I've only been on the board this year. It's my first year being on the advisory board, so I'm still learning a few of these things. But I know that there are different medical personnel that are out there that they are in contact with, and so from time to time, people who need it, they can touch base. But insofar as people contacting them, they are contacting Lifespan and the Elderly Services Program on a regular basis. I don't have the numbers, but we have seen drastic number this year increase requesting services. And so with the partnerships we have with the various medical personnel that are caregivers, they hear of people and they let us know. And there's various different ways that we find out. But if I can get you more specifics if you'd like.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Any other questions for Christine? Thank you so much.
Okay, well,
We
thank you.
appreciate
And
your
I do
time.
have some extra material in case you're interested in having any here at the office.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't see any wipes, but.
We'll move on to our action items this evening. A motion to approve trustee meeting minutes for August 25th, 2020.
I so move. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Jones, roll call, please.
Mr. Wong? Yes. Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes, I'll entertain a motion to approve payment of bills.
So move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Jones, roll call, please.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
And Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mr. Burks, requisitions greater than 7,500.
Yes, we have 3 requisitions this evening. The first one is for Climate Support Group in the amount of $7,525. That's to repair air conditioning units in the Township Data Center. Due to the critical operational need, the Township's primary data center has redundant, specialized air conditioning units to maintain proper temperature and humidity for servers, 911, radio, and other electronic equipment. One of the air conditioners is currently non-operational and in need of $6,775 worth of repairs to return it to functional. The second unit is in need of minor preventative maintenance and repairs with the amount of $750 for a combined total request of $7,525. Item number 2 is for Gemalto Cogent Incorporated in the amount of $13,653.45. This is to renew the 1-year maintenance agreement for the automated fingerprint identification system known as AFIS. The police department is requesting approval for the annual renewal. The current annual maintenance agreement expires September 30th, and Westchester AFIS system has been in operation since 2004. The system is used by the police department to house and search local arrest prints and to remotely search crime scene impressions of databases housed by agencies such as the FBI. Item number 3, for W.G. Stang LLC in the amount of $12,320. This is to repair storm pipe on Meadowview Drive. This is CIP 1252. We have repaired or replaced 46 storm pipes throughout the township so far in 2020, and we've been budgeted for $500,000 for this year. A storm pipe on Meadowview Drive has reached its useful life and is in need of replacement. The Roads Division solicited quotes for the work and have selected WG Stang LLC to perform the work. There is a 10% contingency fee on contingency in the amount of $1,120. Those are all the requisitions.
Thank you, Mr. Burks. I'll entertain a motion to approve requisition items 1 through 3.
I so move.
A second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Jones, roll call, please.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Wong? Yes. Mr. Welch?
Yes.
We have no personnel items this evening, so we'll move on to business items. Item 4 is for administration.
Yes, motion to accept bid and approve contract with Kramer and Feldman Incorporated for the administration building refresh per the specifications as advertised, not to exceed $288,438 from TIF funds, and to authorize the township administrator to make non-substantive changes, if necessary, with law director approval, and execute all necessary documents to effectuate the project. This is CIP 1514. Per board approval on July 14th, 2020, the Community Service Department advertised for bids for the administration building refresh. TIF funds will be utilized for the project. The Services Department opened sealed bids on August 19th, 2020 for the administration refresh. A total of 8 bids were received. After review of the bids, Kramer and Feldman Incorporated was determined to be the lowest and most responsive bidder. There is a PO for $288,438, and this includes a 20% contingency fee of $48,073.
Thank you, Mr. Burks. I'll entertain a motion to approve item 4.
So move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say that this shows you how good the competitive process is when we go out for competitive bids, because the difference between the low bidder and the high bidder was about $100,000, which is 50% higher than what we got for the low bid. So good job, staff.
Yeah, that was great. Good
Well,
attempt.
the trustees played an important part because when we were looking at this, you preferred to bid it out, and that was a part of our decision-making. So we didn't have to because we already had some quotes from MCOR, and that is a competitive bid process as well. So, but we specially, for this project in particular, we did a special RFP.
Good.
So thank you for your leadership there as well.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Mr. Jones, roll call, please.
Mr. Wong? Yes. Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes. Business item number 5 is for fire.
Yes, motion to apply for the 2020 Ohio EMS COVID-19 Personal Protective Equipment Grant to reimburse the township for expenses occurred during the pandemic, and to authorize the township administrator to accept said grant in the amount of $1,500. In the response to the pandemic, the Ohio Division of EMS has launched a COVID-19 Personal Protective Equipment Grant. The division has set aside $425,000 to provide EMS agencies with funding for the reimbursement for expenses of PPEs made since January 1 of 2020. Funding priorities include eye protection, isolation gowns, footwear cover, respirator, surgical face masks, face shields, and PPE packages. The maximum award is $1,500 per agency, and the Westchester Fire Department has applied for and has since been notified of the award for $1,500.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Burks. I'll entertain a motion to approve item 5.
So move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Jones, roll call, please.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Wong? Yes.
We do have one emergency resolution this evening, item 6, resolution number 33-2020. Mr. Burks?
Yes, resolution number 33-2020, accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Butler County Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the Butler County Auditor and declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading. The amounts are provided by the Butler County Auditor's Office. They are based on the current year's assessed valuation, gross mills currently passed, and rounded to the nearest 10,000. They are reflective of the 2021 tax budget adopted on July 14th, 2020 as resolution number 24-2020. This does not include any of the potential levies on the ballot in November.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion to declare resolution number 33-2020 an emergency and dispense with the second reading.
I so move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Jones, roll call, please.
Yeah, Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Wong? Yes. Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Very good. We have gotten to our second citizens' comments this evening. Let's see, if there are any business owners, residents, property owners in the township that would like to come before the board and ask any questions or comments, now is your time. Did you have one from online, Lisa?
Yes, there was a question and comment from Carol Tennis, 5872 Forge Bridge Drive. And her question is there any progress on finding a location for the senior center? It has been a year now and still no center for the elderly in Westchester. Mason, Fairfield, and other big communities all have somewhere for the seniors to meet. We need a building that the seniors can meet and converse, play games, and perhaps meals again. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else care to address the board? No? Seeing none, I'll close second citizens' comments for this evening. We have the second vote on the emergency resolution number 33-2020. I'll entertain a motion to pass resolution number 33-2020.
I so move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Jones, roll call, please.
Yeah, Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Wong? Yes. Mr. Welch?
Yes.
We've come to our discussion items and elected official comments. Mr. Burks, there were a couple of discussion items listed on the agenda. Would you like to address the emergency siren?
Yes,
question?
we have received a couple of emails from a resident questioning the emergency siren policy. So I've asked Dennis Dick to prepare a little information for the trustees to clarify what the policy is and what may be some of the differences that they disagree with. But and Dennis, if you don't mind, thank you.
Good evening. I'll give you a little background on the sirens themselves. So Westchester Township has 11 outdoor weather warning sirens that cover the township, and Westchester Communications is responsible for activating those sirens. In addition, there are sirens in Liberty Township that are also activated by Westchester Communications. There are several, usually PSAPs within Butler County that activate their respective community sirens. We just happen to have an intergovernmental agreement with Liberty Township to activate theirs. And that, along with the township policy, was adopted by the Board of Trustees at the time in April of 2012. So our activation policy goes through a lot of information, including definitions of warnings, watches, just threats in general. But as far as the meat and bones of activating the sirens, when this policy was adopted in 2012, it was largely unchanged from what past practice had been for the township. The big difference in 2012 being that we modified the policy to accommodate the activation of Liberty Township's sirens, because we activate their sirens under slightly different circumstances. So the actual activation is, well, number one, obviously most people are aware the first Wednesday of the month at noon is a test date. That is subject to weather conditions at the time. There are certainly times that the test does not occur due to inclement weather at the time. We don't want to frighten residents and citizens unnecessarily. When we cancel a test, that is done with myself, the police chief, the fire chief, and the administrator, considering the events at the time. And I will go through a little bit of data, but you'll see that cold weather can also affect that. That's been the most common reason we have canceled tests because severe cold and icing can actually damage the siren components. So we don't want to do that during that weather. So to actually activate the weather sirens, the only time we activate our weather sirens are upon notification of from the National Weather Service of a tornado warning that covers all or part of Westchester Township, all of southeast Butler County, southwest Ohio, or whenever a confirmed tornado touchdown has occurred or a funnel cloud sighting has been confirmed in or near the Westchester Township weather zone. Now, some of the definition there is part of what was updated in 2012. The reason being is the National Weather Service has actually gotten very specific with their warnings, including their watches. It used to be that when a warning came out, it was a very, very large geographic area. And just looking at the warning, it was hard to determine where it is. But I have an example of a tornado warning that was actually sent out from the National Weather Service May 25th of 2011. And the warning is for northwestern Butler County and southern Preble County. And it goes on to list more specifics as far as the locations. And it says, locations of possible impact include Oxford, Camden, 7 Mile, Gratis, West Alexandria. And then most of these warnings have an additional part of possible affected area, and they start to get into communities. Some of the warnings that we have actually received that cover Westchester, they may say Westchester or they may not. They may give 2 mile markers on I-75 as a possible impact. It may say Weatherington, it may say Four Bridges. So it may not actually say Westchester, but it gives a neighborhood or a suburb, Pisgah, Maud, things along those lines are pretty common to see in these watches and warnings. But the big key to it is that severe weather does not trigger our outdoor weather warning sirens. The only thing that triggers our outdoor weather warning sirens is a tornado warning issued by the National Weather Service, or basically a confirmed tornado or funnel cloud by a reputable source of some sort, whether it's a weather spotter, our law enforcement or firefighters or township staff personnel. Trustees are named not by name, but as someone that can report a sighting because it is a reputable confirmed source. But we do not activate our sirens for any combination of watches and warnings. Hamilton County years ago made the media pretty often because of the frequency of them setting off their sirens. And I believe it was over 5 different possible combinations when they would set their sirens off, which may include a severe thunderstorm warning along with a tornado watch, things along those lines. It was very complicated to know when those sirens went off, what did it mean? So the purpose of a very specific policy like this is if you hear one of our sirens going off, it's either testing or you should already be sheltered. We don't want confusion. We don't want sirens to mean multiple things. So the difference between us and the rest of Butler County is the reasons for activating the sirens are exactly the same throughout the entire county. In 2012, at the direction or initiation of the EMA at the time, they requested that all agencies with sirens in Butler County enter into the same agreement as far as their policy, where the reason for activation was the same as far as the triggers. The add-on to it and what we do for Liberty Township with activating theirs is if one siren in Butler County is activated, all other communities also activate theirs. The reason why that is significant, and Westchester at the time opted to not participate, is because of data, because of the history and the probability in science. So the list I have here is from 2011, January 1st, 2011 to date. There have been 8 weather events that have caused a tornado warning that had anything to do with Butler County. It prompted 13 different tornado warnings that covered Butler County within 8 different weather events. So May 1st of 2012, there were 3 different warnings that came out, all from the same storm system. Of those 8 weather events and 13 tornado warnings, 3 of those were in either southeast Butler County, named a Westchester community, or said Westchester itself, or impacted our immediate area. So traditionally, the weather in this area, again, it's not a guarantee, is moving northeast or northeasterly. Unfortunately, our neighbors in the northwest corner, Oxford, that general area gets the majority of the tornado warnings, not all. But the reason that Westchester at the time decided not to participate in the countywide program was because so many weather events affect Butler or Oxford. The example that I read where the storm, the impact was Oxford, Camden, 7 Mile, Gratis, and it was moving in a northeastern direction. It's still within the same county, but that's a pretty big jump from Oxford to Westchester for the weather event that we already know is moving northeast. So that's why the Board of the Trustees at the time elected to abstain from the countywide activation. But again, the purpose, the cause of why anybody else in Butler County activates is only because of a tornado warning or a spotted tornado. Hamilton County's actually switched a few years back to that also, so they don't set theirs off for combinations of events and things like that. It has to be a warning that covers their geographic area or a confirmed spotting from a reputable source. So just a note, we're kind of late in the season, right? Most people think that we're getting out of the severe weather, but just for reference, in 2013, there was a tornado warning for Middletown, and it was moving northeast. It started in Middletown and moved northeast. We did not set our sirens off because it did not cover our area. But that was November 17th in 2013. So it is certainly possible, and it's still relevant and pertinent to pay attention to the weather sirens. One thing from the National Weather Service, one thing I'd like to read from them that's important for, I think, most people to understand the severity of weather and being weather aware, as they say, is sirens are intended to be heard only by people who are outside. They are not designed to be heard inside your home or vehicle. They are not designed to be able to wake you up. It is important to not rely so much on sirens. They should not be your primary or only warning source. You need other ways to get warning information. Do not wait for a siren to take shelter. So the reason I bring that up is because weather sirens can be important to the notification and the safety of our residents, and we want them to do so, but they should never be the primary means of notification. When they were designed or repurposed to be for weather notification, it was well before cell phones and all this wireless connectivity we have. All the way to our testing, it's a manual process activated by a person. There's no way to automate the activation of these sirens within our system. Our siren controllers are part of the county-wide system, so we do interact. We can back up the other agencies and entities within Butler County, and they can do the same for us. I did want to note that one of the benefits of our community and the county as a whole has been an amateur radio group that has stepped up to volunteer to monitor the sirens. Obviously, the testing every month is to find problems. If there's a problem that occurs on a test, we consider that a good test, right? Because that's when we want to find problems. Obviously, we want them to work at all times. But just a little history with the amateur radio group that has volunteered their time to monitor our sirens. They started September of 2016 after the Butler County Sheriff's Office had approached them and requested that they start monitoring sirens throughout the county. Part of their subset of their group for the Westchester region opted to monitor the Westchester Township sirens. Prior to that, it was staff members, including police and fire, that would monitor all the sirens during the testing. So the very first test that they monitored, we had one siren that did fail, but all others passed. So from the get-go, we've had sirens fail during testing, but one from day one. So and I'll be brief with this part. In 2018 to now, so in 2018 we had 2 months where we did not test due to ice on the sirens. In 2019 we had 2 months where we did not test, and we opted on purpose not to test because of severe weather. Starting in July of 2018, we consistently had 2 sirens that would fail. In August, we found that the control boards were bad, sent them to Federal Signal, who is the manufacturer of these sirens, to get repair, and we did not receive those until March of the next year. So those 2 sirens, we couldn't do anything with for several months, but repair was in process. Excuse me, around the same time, March of 2019, we also had all the batteries. We have the sirens inspected by a third party every single year, preventative maintenance done, and we also have to replace the batteries in them occasionally. Since March of 2019, every siren that has been monitored has passed every single month of every test since starting April of 2019. And that goes up to March of this year, which was a delay with our test. Our monthly test was delayed 4 minutes due to emergencies in the communication center. Since I mentioned it's our comm center that activates them and it's a person doing it, our comm center is also responsible for answering 911 calls, police and fire calls, obviously. The test, while significant and important to ensuring operation, we're not gonna hang up or pause a 911 call to perform a test. So that it has happened several times this year that due to emergencies, the test has happened, but has been delayed. So the last time since April of 2019 we've had any siren fail was August. And initially we had 1 siren fail. That test was also delayed because the sheriff's office had installed a new switch in our system, and it wasn't configured right, and the sirens didn't go off. Our dispatchers in our communication center used the backup method of activating these sirens because we do have 2 methods of activating. So they went off and only 1 failed at that time, but there was a delay. And then this month's test was also delayed by emergencies. All of our operators were on 911 calls before, during, and after the test, and active on the radio. So that's a brief summary of our weather sirens. Any questions?
Dennis, could you give us some other, you mentioned these weather alerts for your phone. What are some of the ones that are popular, that are reliable? You've seen?
Yeah, so most of the media in the local area will have apps that you can download for weather notifications. Not to blame them, we have had at least 2 known incidents where a local media channel has activated their weather alerts indicating a cited tornado in one instance and a tornado warning in another instance in Westchester. After multiple conversations, they determined that it was inaccurate because we have the warnings from National Weather Service. Our dispatch center gets them. So we knew it wasn't accurate from the National Weather Service. It was a mistake in how they set it off. And the reason I say it's not really a fault to them is because we'd rather have people more cautious than to ignore things, which kind of goes back to why we only set our sirens off during those certain conditions. But almost all the local media has weather apps. NOAA radio has apps, and the National Weather Service has some apps. I believe those are typically a little bit slower in their notification, but then there's always the weather radios, which have been around forever. But most of the weather radios, the big benefit to those is they have battery backups. And that's going to be probably one of the quickest notifications they can possibly get.
Any other questions? I actually have one. I went through the weather spotting training through the National Weather Service in April, and I appreciate the succinct nature of if the sirens go off, it's a tornado warning. That's the cleanest way to do it. That's when you have to go in your basement. One question that I did have was, there are a lot of people that are passionate about weather and safety in the community. Is there a way to communicate to the residents, or do we already, if the test is delayed, for what reason, or if it's canceled, for what reason?
We don't have anything in place now. Probably the primary issue with that is with having something in place is it's almost always going to be delayed even more than the siren test.
Right.
Only because if we are delayed for any reason in actually activating the sirens for the testing purposes, then the notification is going to be even less of a priority of why there's a delay, because they're already delayed in setting them off. That's something that we can look into, but currently, no, there is not a good form of communication to get to everyone about a delay.
Just to let everybody know that we tried, but there was too much ice this month, or just however, to communicate it to the public.
Yeah, and when we do cancel, unfortunately, I mean, we want these tests to happen, again, because we've proven that the test, if there's a failure, we can find them in the test and we can get the problem resolved. So we want them to happen. Unfortunately, sometimes we wait pretty late in the day to determine that we're going to cancel them. But otherwise, when we have done them relatively early, at least of late, our public information and engagement department has done an excellent job of getting that information out via all the social media platforms that they use.
Very
So we
good.
do try to balance we really want to have this test, but we'd also like to let people know that we're canceling the test.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you
very
Dennis.
much.
Thank you, Dennis.
You had another a discussion item on the agenda, Larry, the Westchester Baseball Complex Agreement?
Yes, I wanted to give an update that the Westchester Baseball Complex second renewal agreement is ready. We will be having it on the next agenda. But I wanted to discuss it today because there were some discussions with the Westchester Baseball Partnership about some concerns and how they're doing and things of that nature. And they were concerned about maybe not being selected again or given a notice in the termination agreement, which is understandable. However, I think it's important to point out to the public and to the trustees that these folks that are in charge of the baseball partnership right now are doing as good, if not better, than anyone else that we've had involved in the Westchester Baseball Partnership. This year, it's been a rough year for them with COVID, of course, but they're working very hard to recover. And also, they're doing a very good job of, in the meantime, getting the field ready for a new season, right? And some of the things that they've been working on with Tim Frank and the services departments like scoreboards and waters, the sprinkler systems and turf maintenance and painting the fences and just doing really routine maintenance things that weren't done before under the new leadership. We had a nice long conversation with Ed Johnson. Ed was no longer an officer on the board, but he is involved with the partnership. And Rob Hall and Jeffrey Kinney, they all are doing a great job, and we look forward to working with them a very long time. And I hope the trustees feel the same way. In fact, I'm confident that these folks have given them, another extension will give them the confidence that going forward that they're also in it for the long haul as well.
How long is the extension?
5 years. They've been at it for 10 years now, and they've made the payments for the turf every year. There was 1 year in the beginning, but this year the $20,000 payment will be deferred until the very end of the 10 payments. So because of the COVID, they couldn't have tournaments and things of that nature, but that's understandable. We've also made some changes in the agreement to make it less cumbersome. There were things that the township was supposed to have been doing. When I first started here, I didn't realize it, and we were doing it in a roundabout way, but it was on the administrator to do it, but other people were just checking on it in a casual way. There were restrictions regarding the concessions and things of that nature, and how that would be ran, and we clarified all of that, made it clear in the agreement what is actually to be done, and when are we to meet and talk about the finances, how the year went, and what they expect for the following year. So once again, it'll be more on schedule, like we have been doing things around here with the township.
Very good. Any other questions on the baseball complex?
Not a question, just as a comment. I mean, that's a really good program that we have over there. And I think to get these kids involved at this early age with baseball is a really important thing, particularly with all the social distancing and things that we have to do these days. I think they need that kind of interaction.
Yeah. Baseball is the perfect COVID sport. Lots of space. And I appreciate that partnership too, because it's working well. It's serving the community and giving our children a way to have physical exercise. So it's a wonderful agreement. Thank you for working on it.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. They're a great group of guys to work with. We want to ease their concerns a little bit, and that's why I wanted to discuss it. So,
Good.
and just get it out there that we enjoy working with them and that they're doing a good job. And there's, at this point, no reason to change, so.
Did you have any other comments, questions, statements?
No, thank you.
Very good. Mr. Jones, did you have anything for us tonight?
Oh, most all of our roads are open, schools are open, life's good. That's it.
Very good.
I have nothing.
Okay. Mr.
I have
Wong?
nothing.
I have nothing. Actually, I wanted to address Carol's question about the senior center. Did you have any updates or any direction on where we were going to
Well,
head with that?
They were at the library, and from what I understand, they were being taken care of. They had programming and they had space, but then COVID came. And they didn't get a really good, I mean, they were only there for 6 months, maybe 5 or 6 months, and then they had to close the library down. So they didn't really have a good opportunity to settle in and get into their programming. We have, you know, there were a few of them were going to Chesterwood Village for some services and programming, but Chesterwood Village also had to stop outsiders from coming in due to COVID. So it's just not been the best environment for really anyone at this point dealing with senior services. It's been a very challenging year. I don't see it ending anytime soon. Hopefully, once a vaccine comes out, there will be more opportunities for the seniors to get out and enjoy the assets we do have here in the township.
Very good. Thank you. I don't have anything else, so I believe we do have executive session this evening. We only have 10 minutes or so. Is it worth going in?
Probably not. We have quite a few. We have 4 or 5 items we need to discuss.
Okay.
Nice to have a hard deadline.
Gets the work done quicker.
Some fast talking.
Oh, let's see. I guess we could adjourn for a little bit, and then we'll come back and do our 2 public hearings, and then we'll resume executive session. So I'll entertain a motion to recess a regular meeting and go into executive session with legal counsel for the purpose of considering the discipline of a public employee or official, conference with an attorney for the township concerns disputes involving the township that are subject to pending or imminent court action, or to consider confidential information related to marketing plans, specific business strategies, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal financial statements for an applicant for economic development assistance. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Jones, roll call, please.
And Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes, we are in recess. Adjourn executive session and resume the September 8th, 2020 regular meeting of the Westchester Board of Trustees.
So move.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Jones, roll call, please.
Mr. Welch? Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
You moved on, I didn't say yes.
Okay.
But I'm saying yes now.
Too much noise. Okay, you're on record.
We're back. We agree.
Good.
Motion passes. This evening, we do have two public hearings. We have ZMA 07 and 08. At this time, I declare the public hearing open for number ZMA 07-20. Mr. Dawson, presentation, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Becker. Here we have a site aerial within the vicinity of the site. The site is highlighted in red. Site's located along the north side of Union Center Boulevard, approximately 2,300 feet west of Princeton-Glendale Road. The site consists of approximately 24 acres, having frontage along the newly established Brate Drive to the north. The site is characterized as an undeveloped lot lying within the floodplain. We have a few ground view pictures of the site. This is along Union Center Boulevard with a view to the north, and further west with another view to the north on the elevated overpass. As you can see, the current zoning's A1 agricultural district with surrounding residential PUD, industrial, and industrial PUD surrounding. The current comprehensive land use plan recommends the site as the general industrial land use classification. The intent of the classification was to allow for the more intense industrial uses along the major road corridors. The applicant has stated they are willing to develop the site consistent with the recommended M2 development standards and the surrounding industrial building sites. The Land Use Planning Committee convened with a recommendation to extend the open space land use classification along the floodplain as well, and maintaining the general industrial land use classification for the site. The access to the public right-of-way will need to be established during the negotiations of the development agreement with an extension of Brate Drive through the site. Additionally, that agreement would establish the conveyance of the remaining open space to either Building 9 or Building 8. Additionally, the recommended pedestrian path was established within the adjacent industrial PUD, as you can see, highlighted in orange. However, if the applicant can establish a new route along the extension of Brate Drive, staff will work with the applicant to achieve that. Additionally, the applicant will work with staff to establish an adequate landscape buffer in order to screen the residential district to the north. The Board of Trustees are to approve with modification, or deny the submitted zoning map amendment. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Dawson?
Now, that will link up to the Port Union Trail.
The extension of the path would connect to the residential district to the north of the site highlighted in red, along Brate Drive, and then the current construction of the path would then extend down State Route 747 to Union Center Boulevard, along the frontage of the rest of the industrial campus.
Is that under the bridge?
No, this would not extend to the bridge, through the bridge.
Oh, I see. It's getting close.
I'm trying to see if the pointer will come up. Okay, so the path is already constructed along Brate Drive out to 747. The Brate Drive would then extend past the building site for Building 8 and then into Building 9 and then connect to this residential district to the north, as well as North Point is currently under planning and construction of the path connection down south along their frontage to Union Center Boulevard.
Any other questions for Mr. Dawson?
Okay, I understand.
Thank you, Tim. Is the applicant here? Do you have a presentation or any comments? No? No applicant? Thank you very much. Are there any, any proponents to this project that would like to address the board? Anyone in favor? Any opponents that would like to speak? I'll ask again, any opponents? Any neutral parties that would like to share information? Hearing none? Okay, Mr. Dawson, would you please read the first reading of the resolution?
This is resolution number 34-2020, approving a zoning map amendment from A1 to M2 for KCMA 07-20, EDZ property, Westchester Trade Center, Building 9. Be it resolved that on the basis of the above actions and findings, the Westchester Township Board of Trustees does hereby concur with the Westchester Township Zoning Commission and does hereby approve the zoning map amendment from A1 Agricultural District to M2 General Industrial District.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Dawson.
Thank you.
I hereby declare this public hearing closed. And I hereby declare open the public hearing for case number ZMA 08-20. Mr. Dawson, would you give us that presentation, please?
Here we have a site aerial within the vicinity of the site highlighted in red. The site's located along Centerpoint Drive and Westchester Town Center Drive, approximately 900 feet east of Civic Center Boulevard. The site consists of 2 parcels totaling 8.2 acres. The site is characterized as flat and vacant open space. We have a few ground view pictures of the site, the view to the southeast, the view to the southwest, the view to the south, and a view to the west. Current zoning for the site is Central Business District in blue and Commercial PUD in the crosshatch yellow. The 2013 recommended land use classification for the site is the Downtown Regional Center. Although not the preferred mix of the neighborhood retail and residential use, the proposed residential use and the density within would allow for a balance to the previously approved surrounding commercial sites by providing a mix that is as defined within the housing component recommendation, closely connected by designated pedestrian ways so to achieve the same balance and integration. The residential-only site proposal would serve to be complementary use to the surrounding commercial-only sites and would meet the general intent of an area where residents could live, work, and play. The applicant is proposing 5 buildings consisting of 335 multifamily units on 8.2 acres or 41 units per acre. This also includes the open space amenities, including a clubhouse, pool, and common space areas. And the site development has been designated to occur this year, with the first building and subsequently each additional building projected to be completed by fall 2023. The applicant's preliminary plan is consistent with the recommended design for the residential type to be urban luxury multi-story housing, including parking garages and urban streetscape, which the applicant will expand upon in their presentation in regard to the urban design, high-quality interior finishes, and unit mix geared toward the young professional and empty nester market. The applicant has stated they are proposing a unit mix of 33% one-bedroom and 67% two-bedroom units, with 1.3 parking spaces per unit, which the applicant feels best serves the targeted market. In addition to the unit mix, which provides a higher percentage of single occupancy, the applicant would like the board to consider the proposed percentage of open space and shared public parking along the perimeter of the site and their request for a reduction on the typical requirement of two parking spaces per unit, which would be 1.3 internally to the site and a shared 1.6 per unit with the shared public, private parking spaces located along the public and private roadways on the perimeter of the site. The applicant is proposing pedestrian connectivity through the site, which is consistent with the recommendation for pedestrian-oriented activity, but would be located on private property. The applicant has stated they would prefer not to be required to provide a plat note or a draft easement agreement for public sidewalk access. However, they have stated public access along the perimeter of the site is expected, and they would not restrict pedestrian access from traversing through the site, but would like to reserve the right to restrict any other public access to the property which is intended for the residents. Therefore, consideration should be given to require or not require the applicant to provide a note or draft for a public use easement at the final development plan stage. Additionally, the Butler County Engineers has reviewed the traffic analysis and recommends off-site improvements that could be achieved in lieu of an updated traffic impact study. The applicant has stated they are in agreement with the county engineer's recommendation to update pedestrian facilities adjacent to the site within the public right-of-way and improve the intersection of Union Center Boulevard and Floor Drive, to include the addition of a left turn lane and install a 5-section signal head for the intersection of Allen Road and Union Center Boulevard. Westchester Township Service Department has indicated Center Loop Drive is a private road. Therefore, a maintenance agreement in regard to the private and public roadways will require a draft maintenance agreement between the township and the property owner. As to the extent of the public maintenance or an amendment to a previously established Property Owners Association maintenance agreement. The county has not commented on any preliminary grading or drainage plan at this time. However, those plans will be addressed at the final development plan stage. The County Water and Sewer Department has reviewed the utility plans and indicated looping may be required and public sewers as well. The applicant has provided a preliminary landscape plan. This only generalizes a well-appointed streetscape and open space design. All other requirements in regard to the detailed landscaping, engineering, architectural design, lighting, and signage plans will be addressed further at the final development plan stage. Board of Trustees are to approve the modification, or deny the submitted zoning map amendment and preliminary development plan. If you have any questions at this time.
Any questions for Mr. Dawson?
No.
Yes. Do you know how many, I was reading in here that there's a number of 2 bedrooms that have an additional half bath and also a den. Do you know what that mix is of 2 bedrooms that have dens?
The total mix is 33% one bedroom.
Single, and then, yeah, I got it.
67%.
But how many of the 2 bedrooms have dens?
I do not have that percentage.
Okay, I'll ask the,
Yeah, the applicant will be able to address that.
okay, and so with regards to restriction of public through the facility there, is that is that restriction of vehicular traffic, but pedestrian traffic is permitted? Or is
No, so the site's not gated or fenced. For example, the Springs of Westchester, there's gated access to that site. This site will not be gated, so pedestrians will have the ability to walk through the site if they wanted to take a shortcut, but they will not be able to enjoy the open space facilities. They want to reserve that right to their residents. They're not going to restrict someone cutting through to get to the parking on the south side, but they want to reserve the enjoyment for the residents internal to the site.
Okay.
Is the facility going to enforce that themselves?
Yeah, it would be privately maintained and restricted, if necessary.
If necessary. Any other questions?
No, I don't.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. Appreciate it. Does the applicant have a presentation for the board? If you wouldn't mind giving us your name, and address, and affiliation for the record.
Just 1 second. There you go. Oops. Do the same thing. Good evening. My name is Jose Casarjon. I'm a landscape architect with McGill Smith Punchin, 3700 Park 42 Drive, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45241. As always, thank you for the opportunity to present in front of you. This has been a project for me that I've had been working on since the mid-90s. So for the folks that don't know, I was lucky enough to be part of the project as it relates to the original land use plan back in the mid-90s. Was lucky enough to work on the business across the street at Town Center Square, and then also lucky enough to work on the square at Union, or at the square at Union Center. So with that said, as part of the planning of this project from the very beginning, we wanted to create a destination, an area of Westchester that kind of allowed for congregation for people to gather and to create a downtown. That was kind of the direction that we got from the township at the time when we were working on Town Center Square, or the square at Union Center. So with that said, the things that we know were part of the whole mixed use was how do we support some of the existing businesses that are there? How do we support the restaurants? And how do we encourage walkability, connectivity, and really create kind of that sense of place in that downtown? We know that the thing that was missing was house tops and residential components. We know we had great access to the Beckett Ridges of the world and providing bike routes and things like that. But we know we needed to have the daytime population that's there to support. So when I was lucky enough to be hired by Hills Communities to work on this project, I thought, well, this is kind of the trifecta, right? I'm getting to the next project that was part of what is needed in a mixed-use development to create the housing component that is urban style, that can support facilities like the Square at Union Center and the community and the businesses that are surrounding it. And what a great place to be able to walk to get a cup of coffee, go get a book, go to dinner, go to an event at the Marriott, and come back and do it by walking. I thought that to me, that was kind of the best of both worlds. So I just wanted to kind of set that tone and let you know that as Mr. Copper finishes the presentation with more detail as you requested, I wanted to kind of frame that for you on how the intent has always been of this community to have a housing component as part of the big mix to support the great facilities that we have. And as a resident, I obviously enjoy it and use it a lot, but having these kinds of facilities I think would be great for our community. So I'll be available for questions when Mr. Copper finishes his presentation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please give us your name, address for the record.
My name is Michael Kopfer, and I am the Vice President of Land Acquisition for Hills Properties. Our address is 4901 Hunt Road in Blue Ash, Ohio. And we're happy to be here tonight and happy that you're taking the time to hear us. And we think it's important to have continuity with the great framework that's already started in your downtown core. That's why we're happy to team up with McGill Smith Punchin and Jose in order to have the continuity so our plan mixes with what's already been done and put in place. And so we're just adding to it. So we're hoping you'll see that in our design that we're going to share with you this evening. Part of it is Hills Properties. We have a history of excellence. We're a real estate development company and management company. We were founded back in 1958 by Murray Gutman. We currently have 250 associates, and we've grown, and we have properties in multiple states. But even with that said, we're still owned and operated by the Hills, by the Gutman family. Every picture that you're going to see in this presentation are all buildings that we've built and still own to this day. Our corporate headquarters is in downtown Blue Ash. Because we're family-owned and operated, we're not at the whims of Wall Street and other investors. So we can control our own destiny, and we can control the quality that's in our communities as well. We also continue to be listed by Deloitte as one of their top 100 privately owned companies within Cincinnati. The Cincinnati, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky region. They print the list every year in the Inquirer. We wanted to share this with you because not only do we have the expertise to do it, but we have the capital to do this project and to see it through. We know others have, this site's been looked at over the years. Our plan, if we're fortunate enough to be approved, in the next month or so, we would like to begin our underground utility work this fall and winter, which would allow us, as soon as, the spring clears, to be able to start foundations in the spring and get a real head start in getting this development underway. We've been in business for 60 plus years. We've successfully developed and completed over 85 multifamily communities. That's over 15,000 individual residential multifamily units, and we have won national awards for many of our communities. What I wanted to start with is our vision for the residents at Clock Tower, as we see this as a truly renter by choice destination, right in the heart of your CBD. We envision the professional millennials as well as the empty nesters being our main target audience. We originally started really targeting this market to be able to figure out what they needed, what would be successful communities back in 2010. And our first community that was geared towards this renter by choice was Palmyra, located in Deerfield Township, not very far from here. It's 360 residential units. We completed it in 2012, and it's been so successful that every building was leased up 100% prior to the building being completed, and we still continue to have different floor plans go on waiting lists because people desire to be in there. And we were successful because our average age is in the 40s, and we have predominantly millennials, and empty nesters are the demographic when we look at the rent rolls of who actually lives there. Not only that, Palmyra was actually designated Community of the Year for the entire country by the National Apartment Association in 2013. So there it is on the cover of Units magazine. That's their publication that goes across the whole country. So in 2013, the National Community of the Year, it wasn't in Austin, it wasn't in Atlanta, it wasn't in Florida, it was right down the street here in Deerfield Township. So we took the success of Palmyra. Palmyra is primarily a 2- and 3-story, more traditional walk-up steps kind of community. And we wanted to take that and do a more urban community. So that was when we were fortunate enough to get to work at the Savoy at the streets of Westchester, here in Westchester. And again, our target market was this young millennial professional as well as this empty nester, blending them together in a successful community, but with an urban, feel to it, an urban architecture to it. So we were able to develop 272 multifamily residences here. All of the residences are either 1-bedrooms, 1-bedrooms with dens, 2-bedrooms, or 2-bedroom with dens. And here our unit mix is about 1/3 1-bedrooms and about 2/3 2-bedrooms. So very similar to what we're talking about at the residences at Clock Tower. All these, this community was completed in 2017, and just like Palmyra, every single building was leased prior to being completed. And we continue to have units go on and off waiting lists, especially our 2-bedroom dens, which are the most desired by our empty nesters. So we continue to believe there's a strong pent-up demand in the rental market in Westchester, especially for these larger 2-bedroom and 2-bedroom dens by empty nesters. They want to downsize from their 4- and 5-bedroom homes, but only so much. They still want to have a home office. They still want to have a guest bedroom if the grandkids visit or something like that. So really the 2-bedroom dens is mainly the ones that they focus on renting. And a lot of the professional millennials, we have one person lives in 2 bedrooms because they want to have their own master bedroom and they want to have a big home office, especially in the current environment that we're in. So we see the demand for 1-bedrooms isn't as high. And it causes some places to drop the rents, and it could dilute a whole community. So we really studied this unit mix, and this is kind of part of our secret sauce. It was successful at Palmyra, it was successful at Savoy, and we believe it'll be successful, here at the residence of Clock Tower as well. Our current average age is 43 years old at Savoy. Our youngest person is 22. They happen to be an RN nurse, and our oldest person is 84. He happens to be retired. So we have a mix of people from 22 to 84, all happily living here in Westchester and at Savoy. And it continues, even, in the challenges that we've had, Savoy continues to be an excellent performing property from our standpoint. It makes us want to do another one, just on the other side of Westchester in your central downtown here. This is a picture of Savoy. Savoy also won a national award. The National Apartment Association gave it the award for the National Award for Excellence. So this is for all communities that are 150 units or greater. In 2017, this was the #1 community that won their National Award for Excellence. So we continue to not only build, successful communities, but they're recognized by our peers across the country as the kind of properties they think are successful as well. Here's a daytime picture of the amenities. Here's what it looks like in the evening time. So this brings us to the residents at Clock Tower. What we would like to do, and we would like to have it be a Savoy 2.0. We want to take what worked at Savoy and do some different things as well and kind of take it to another level. We envision a comparable size home at residents at Clock Tower will be about $200 more than what it would be at Savoy. You can see from our architecture here, we're going for clearly an urban look. We think it has also a European flair to it, particularly in this area. We think it blends really well with the library and with, the Clock Tower Park that's there, really inviting, creating what we think is fabulous architecture. We worked hard to look at the buildings around it and the office buildings all around the perimeter and to come up with color palette and styles that we thought would show, yes, this is residential, but it also blends in with the buildings behind it. The entire first floor, except for the leasing center, which is down in here, is all commercial garage. And like Savoy, we've done using architecture that totally hides that so that you don't know whether that's commercial space, residential space, what that use is. So it has windows, it's finished off, and it blends in. We think that's important to really have a downtown. It looks whole, it looks complete that way. It doesn't look like that's a parking garage. It looks like it's part of the building. And this is very important because one of the professional millennials, they're more flexible, but we found the empty nesters, they really like being able to have, a parking garage within the same building. All of the buildings here will have elevators. So you'll come in, you'll park inside your building on the first floor, get into the elevator, and then take it up to where your residence is. And we have windows and everything, so it's an enclosed garage. So there's a certain sense of security, there's a sense of, weather protection. We really think this is a differentiator, particularly towards the empty nester resident. This is the floor plan, the layout site plan that we saw a minute ago that Mr. Dawson showed us. What I did want to point out is that there's currently surface parking here. We're looking to add more surface parking around the edge for a total surface parking of 117 surface parking spots. These would be on a first come, first served basis. Anybody going to Dingle House, going to an event at the square, an event at the library, can use the parking, all the way around here. We also envision the entire walkway around here really completing and connected. This is there's kind of a lot of spokes coming into it, right? So we're really connecting and would really like to see a nice walkway really that connects all the pedestrian, flow within the CBD area here. Around the perimeter is basically the front yard. So that's the public space, that's the public sidewalk everybody walks. We envision the interior courtyard space. This is the backyard for the residents that live here. This is their private space. This is where the swimming pool is. We're going to have this great lawn here. That's going to have like outdoor yoga classes and things like that. We've got our nice, park here, kind of as the Hyde Park feel to it. We're looking at doing some water features in here. So this is going to be a fabulous courtyard space for our residents living here to enjoy. We are not planning to gate it. However, we would like to reserve the right that if we thought the market dictated it in 5 or 10 years, we could come in, and gate it, and it wouldn't be a problem. That's why we would ask that all of the easements for public, use on the property be around the perimeter of the property instead of in the middle, which is really the backyard for the residents that live there. It makes it kind of an exclusive for them. Another thing I would like to point out, a suggestion we got from the township, I'm not sure who it came from, but looking at the architecture around it, the Dingle House building has these bronze copper elements on the roof, right? And it was said, well, what can you guys do to kind of match that or to be part of that? So what we're doing is along Union Center along Westchester Town Center Drive, we're looking to match that and having our roof elements use the same copper kind of bronze. So here's the elevations, so they'll match that and play off that same central theme going up to the main boulevard leading right to the clock tower there. One thing that makes us different and unique from a lot of other apartment developers is we are the beginning and the end. We're the construction managers. We will hold all the contracts. We will hire all the subs. We will be responsible for completing every building, every sidewalk, and this development will be Hills Properties. At the end of the day, we go down the hall and we turn it over to our in-house property management team. And they will then continue to lease and manage it from now into, we hold these things, forever, it seems like. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. The plan is the Gutman family is building more properties to give to their grandkids, so they'll be managing them in the future. So we're not merchant builders, we don't plan to sell, but more importantly, we control the whole process. Therefore, we don't shortchange any of the construction. We make sure we probably spend a little bit more on the roofs, a little bit more on carpet, a little bit more on HVAC, only because we don't want to have to replace those items 2 or 3 or 5 years down the road. We're going to continue to own it, so we build quality from the beginning. And these are some of the professional organizations that we're members of and remain in good standing. So therefore, we're using best practices in the industry. Talking about quality construction, all of our exteriors will either be brick or they'll be the fiber cement hardy board panels. We're going to have all the windows will be oversized with low E, high energy efficiency. We're going to have 9-foot ceilings with double crown molding in all the kitchen and living areas. All of our balconies, we use French doors instead of, less expensive sliding doors. On our balconies, we use metal railings instead of vinyl railings, and the whole community will be professionally landscaped and irrigated, so it continues to look its best. Because we're leasing, we're open every day, so we have models, we want it to always look good, so we do what it takes to make sure that happens. Our interior finishes, we use wood grain flooring, and we use the designer Frise carpet. The entire unit is wired for high-speed internet access. We also use 2-inch wood grain blinds, and we use the two-tone custom painting that you can see in different areas. You can see our crown molding trim, our large windows, our French doors. An important item which you don't see in most communities is the master bedroom. If you'll notice, our master bedroom here accommodates a king-size bed and a nightstand on both sides. That is a standard in our design feature. Every 1-bedroom, every 2-bedroom, the master bedroom will accommodate a full king-size bed and a nightstand on both sides. We probably build some of our residences a little bit bigger, but we think in the long term we have better resident retention. So it saves us in the long term, and it makes our units, we think, a little bit more desirable, because people, especially that are coming out of homes, actually have space to put all their furniture, particularly their bedroom suite. Our kitchens are all state-of-the-art. We have modern floor plans that use the big, large islands. We use solid wood cabinets. We have LED under cabinet lighting. We use tile backsplashes, stainless steel appliances, gourmet fixtures, large designer sinks, designer decorative, lighting. We have the fast charging USB chargers. The millennials really love that. We have those not only in the kitchen, but we have those in the bedrooms as well, so they can charge their phones up fast at night. And we also include a full-size washer and dryer in every single home. Most of the homes have their own room where it's dedicated space and gives them extra storage as well. On our bathrooms, again, we're using the solid wood vanities. We're using the quartz vanity tops, again, like the kitchens. We have double sinks and a lot of our 2-bedroom floor plans. All of our tubs, we have tile surround, not the plastic stuff. It's real tile that's inlaid. We have polished chrome fixtures. We're doing, different from Savoy, we're now doing these LED backlit mirrors. These are really popular. We're doing linen cabinets in a lot of the bathrooms as well. And one thing different from Savoy that we started doing and will do here are doing more half baths. So I estimate that probably 20 to 25% of the 1-bedrooms will have a half bath, and 20 to 25% of the 2-bedrooms will have a half bath. Particularly for our empty nesters, they like having a separate bathroom that people can go into that are guests visiting them, that's not one of the ones that they're using for their normal activities of brushing their teeth and things like that. So that's something new. We didn't do it at Savoy. You don't see it in the marketplace, so don't tell people we're doing it, but that's something that we are planning to do here. This is a picture of garage at Savoy, and we envision a similar interior here. We finished the entire space with drywall. It's painted, it's sanded. You can see the windows. It looks great. It's clean. It's airy. It keeps the elements out. We have a door on the end. You hit the clicker, the door goes up. You pull in, and the door goes down behind you, and then you go to the elevator or go into the elevator lobby to go up to your residence. We also have bicycle parking in every single garage as well. We take one of the corners and we fence it in, and we give people dedicated space to keep their bicycles. We think that'll be a really neat feature here because it'll allow people to really use their bicycles. And around the pedestrian area on the outside, we're planning to have bicycle racks as well. So if somebody wants to go down the street for dinner, they want to ride over to First Watch for breakfast, go get coffee, things like that, it'll be convenient to do so on a bicycle. Every single building, every single floor is accessed by elevator. These are real pictures from the elevators at Savoy. All the buildings are key fobbed to get into all the buildings. The main entries will have a call station, so a visitor or the pizza person can, dial in. You can buzz them in to get your pizza or let your guests visit you. We also are going to have a 24-hour secure parcel pickup station. So the Amazon person, whoever's delivering something, will go in, there'll be a locker, they'll put a code in, put it in a specific box. That box is locked. You come up with your phone or a similar device, and you can code in and unlock the box and get your package. So that way it'll be a nice, orderly, clean system that and it has some security to it as well. We also are going to do valet trash similar at Savoy. A couple days a week at Savoy here as well, we go around and pick up all the trash. We pick up both trash and recycling, and we take that to the dumpster receptacles for the resident. They can still go do it anytime they want as well, but as an added feature, especially for our empty nesters, for our, I said, we get people in their 80s, so they really think that this is a great feature that we offer. And I don't know of too many other communities that do that. So again, based upon suggestions that we received from some of the township staff, we thought this would be a great opportunity to be able to do a 5th floor rooftop terrace overlooking the square at Union Center Park. It'll be located right here. What we're doing is taking 2 large residences out. We plan to build an inside full kitchen space We're looking at putting in some of those wine lockers that you see at steakhouses and country clubs, so residents can keep wines up here, to use this as an entertaining space with a large outdoor terrace overlooking the park. So as things, hopefully we get vaccines, people get better, we can open back up. In the past, you guys have done a great job of programming this park. And so we want our residents to be able to take advantage of that. And whether it's watching, you know, musical entertainment or whatever it's going on, to be able to feel close to that, but also have their friends come up, you know, for a private, you know, aerial view, because the view will be not only out this side, but out this side as well. So it'll be a tremendous, you know, sunrise view as well. And we're, you know, 5-story buildings were up pretty high, so even looking, you know, down, you know, back down the 75 corridor, it's still an interesting view from up there. Here's an example of a smaller terrace we did at 4900 and Blue Ash. This overlooks Veterans Park in that location. So we've done it before. We envision this will be even bigger than that one. But this is the CBD, this is the downtown. This is a feature you typically only see, you know, it's very common in downtown Cincinnati. So this is the downtown. We think it makes sense to have it here. We don't know of any other communities in the general, you know, area here of northern and greater Cincinnati that have anything like this. So we think it'll be a real showstopper amenity for our residents to be able to have and really keep them connected to what's going on, you know, down here in your downtown area. This is the pool at Savoy, and the fountains will have similar pool. It'll be a heated saltwater pool as well, a large terrace area. Our entire facility, indoor and outdoor, has the Wi-Fi for our residents. We'll have fire pits, we'll have a grilling area, we'll have a lawn space. Again, these are pictures of actually what we've done at Savoy. It'll be similar, but we're gonna have a bigger lawn space here. We've got that longer lineal park. Here, more, you know, better for walking, you know, dogs, things like that. We'll also have interiorly, we have a club room with a full kitchen, we have an entertainment lounge and a cyber cafe, and we're pet friendly. We have a paw spa station so you can give your dog a bath as well. So it's something we don't have at Savoy that we will be adding at this community. We have a 24-hour full circuit fitness center with a yoga spinning studio, and Savoy, we're next to Top Golf. So we don't have a golf simulator there, but we will be putting a golf simulator in here since we're across the highway. These is the renderings of our exterior, which we showed before. And we're here if you've got any questions or things you'd like to discuss in further detail.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple. What's the square footage of your various units, the one bedroom,
Sure.
2, and the 2 with a den?
Sure, our one bedrooms are 825 square feet is the smallest. We have a couple larger varieties. Our least expensive, smallest unit with the worst view, we have programmed in to rent for $1,290 a month. So call it $1,300 a month. That would equate to about a $280,000, $290,000 30-year mortgage. So somebody that can afford to buy our smallest, least expensive residence here could also buy a $280,000, $290,000 home, you know, in Westchester as well. So you can see we're really going, you know, to be the top of the market here as far as residential.
So the 2 bedrooms,
Yes.
how much?
1,170 square feet is the average size for a regular 2-bedroom. And the 2-bedroom den is 1,290 square feet.
And that goes up to $2,100 a month?
Yeah, absolutely. It starts, the lowest one with the least view will be 1,950, but it'll definitely be getting up there to 21, 22 as you get up to the top, you know, the higher views. If you're next to our terrace up here.
Yeah. Is the terrace rented, or do you just sign up to use it, or?
Typically, on a daily basis, it's open for people to use. We have a lot of events. We do a lot of wine tastings. We're putting the kitchen up here because we have different chefs come in and have different events. We will also allow residents, to book it, to use it if they want to have a special event up here, as long as it doesn't conflict with our normal. But most of the times, it's available for people to go up anytime and have a coffee and to use and enjoy.
Okay, thank you.
Does the garage have any charging station for the electric car?
Yes, we're doing another community right now. We're putting charging stations in there, so I would assume we'll be putting charging stations in here too. It's something that we've not done yet, but we've got one that's getting ready to start construction ahead of this, that we are doing that. So I'm sure that's something that we'll look at doing here. We see that as a differentiator, into the future, as more and more people have. We do have a couple Teslas at Savoy, so yeah, we think that'll be a benefit. So we'll be doing that here as well.
Even at a minimum with the trickle feed option, to where they can just plug into the 110 and.
The exact details,
Yeah.
I don't know, because we've just started looking at them in some of our other communities that we're looking to do.
Yeah.
But we are seeing that as something we want to provide going in the future. We're actively planning that in construction drawings on other properties right now. So I would assume that's something we'll roll in here as well.
Okay.
The first floor garage, does it have the ability to be converted into something else if we don't need that much parking anymore?
So we are developers, so we're entrepreneurial by nature, right? So if we find that in the future, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, 50 years, there's a great demand for another use, we would come back and ask if we could change some or all of the garage space to something else, if people aren't driving cars. Because it's high space and we've got a concrete ceiling above it and we've got all the utilities in the building, it'd be easy to convert any or all of that to commercial space, whether it's offices, coffee shops, restaurants in the future, or storage could be another use in the future. However, right now, based upon the other uses that are around here, we think there's enough of that space in the marketplace right now. And if we built it here, we think it would just sit vacant, and it's such desirable by the empty nesters that we think it'll be, so it's basically a commercial garage for us. So it is a quasi-commercial type of use that we're doing, but we're very, keen on looking into the future. If people stop driving, everybody Ubers everywhere, we will be able to convert that space to space that will be used in demand in the marketplace.
Did you do that market research to see if there was an oversaturation of retail and office in that area, or was it just a determination of your developer that you didn't really want to pursue that?
We did internally, because us, most people know us as one of the region's largest, most successful apartment developers. But we also have about 1 million square feet of commercial space, and that's office, medical office, restaurant, retail. Over the years that we've developed as part of other communities. And we still continue to own and operate and lease that space. So we're actively in the market on our other properties, leasing, knowing what's going on in the marketplace. And in driving around this particular area, if you look across the street, in the Dingle House, there's still first floor space there. Just further up the road, there's restaurant space and some first floor space there. On the front corner of this, there's still some first floor space here as well. So we think that there's just doing an informal survey of space and what's out there and talking to our leasing people that are bringing people to our other properties, we think that the demand isn't there. And if we had to build it here, we'd put it for $0 in the pro forma, we'd build it as shell space, and it may or may not contribute or add anything, because that space right now, there seems to be a lot of it. If we look at even over by Savoy at the streets of Westchester, a lot of that commercial space there is available that can still be leased. So we just don't feel that there's a demand for that at this point in time. If we feel there's demand in the future, we could easily take some of the space in one of these buildings and convert it, but we just feel that right now our internal is just driving around, looking at the numbers and talking to other brokers or other properties. There's not sufficient demand that we think we would be successful with that here. And we have other properties, they still have commercial building space here, as well as here, and there's some more over here. And those are right along Union Center Boulevard. So they have prime, visibility to maximum traffic exposure. And so our commercial space here that we did build would be competing against that. And so we think it would be it can add much more value and success to this property currently being parking that's convenient for the residents, especially for us to get the higher rents that we're looking to get here.
Any other questions?
Yeah, have you guys, as part of your demographics in your study, do you have an understanding of how much economic impact to an area 700 people coming into a facility like this would have? Is it in the hundreds of thousands or is it in millions? I mean, if you're developing these quasi-urban-esque sorts of properties, and everything is close by and they can get to and they can walk to, and do you have any idea as to how much that impacts the local community?
I don't have hard numbers, but I can tell you by the lifestyles that we have with the residents, both the young professionals and the empty nesters. Out of all the properties we have, the ones that we have that are targeted to this demographic have the most social events. People attend those social events. These are people that tend to eat out more. They tend to go to coffee shops more. So we think there's higher usage and spin-off of surrounding area based upon the demographics of the people because of their lifestyle. These are not people that have 4 or 5 bedroom house and a couple kids, and that's not what this is. These are people that are younger, starting out, professional, working, hopefully, across the street here. They can walk to work in some of the great office buildings that are here. So we think there's probably a higher impact than you would see in a lot of communities just because of the lifestyle of the people that are living here. And we're also have seen in the whole COVID that we've been through now and those issues, these properties have held up very well. I mean, because these are people that are renters by choice. They could be in a home. They're not, trying to just barely make rent every month. So, we think that gives an opportunity for a lot of spinoff to help improve, even the restaurant scene around here. That's one reason we like the site is because of what's here now, and we see us helping to fill, some of the vacant space. There's really nice restaurant space right down here that's a really easy walk from here. And so we'll be bringing people in to use that, but also that would use it at a higher rate than a lot of maybe your typical single-family resident person might.
If I might, the economic developer in me wants to jump in here as well. The 700 people have guests that come in from outside our community, and they spend money. And those dollars are like a 1 to 7. For every dollar they spend, it kind of circulates 7 times as well. So there's an exponential factor of outside dollars in your community being spent and contributing to the economy as well. I think this would have a impact on the economy because more and more people are visiting the downtown, not just living there, but also visiting.
And people from out of town easily stay at the A-Loft, some of the other hotels around, easy walk to and from the location.
To your point about people living here and going, walking to work, particularly in some of our Class A office space, which I think has traditionally been 97% occupied, if you will, leased out. It was one of my thoughts when I started hearing about this that with the whole COVID thing, and the fact that these companies, these big companies that have all this office space are realizing that people can telecommute, you don't need as much office space, that it might put a community in a precarious position if they have a lot of office space available. Do you have any statistics that would indicate that having a development like this close by would help to support the occupancy of Class A office space?
I don't have hard numbers, but the CEO of Netflix came out either today or yesterday and said everybody's coming back to the office the day after there's a vaccine. He's like, we're not as productive. People say they are. So I'm not sure once the air clears what that is, what's going to happen to that. But I see a lot of of people, particularly young professionals that are engineers or lawyers, you know, at these, you know, in these offices right around here, being able to walk to work. I mean, it's so convenient because they don't have to worry about a commute. They almost feel guilty because they'll wake up 20 minutes before they got to be there, jump in the shower and walk across the street. And you'd be surprised. I mean, we have, at Savoy, I've had the advantage of being able to go through the rent roll and, you know, and see, and we've got a lot of people at Savoy that work, you know, right around, you know, this area. We have a CEO of an investment company that's right around this area. We have a CFO of a manufacturing company that's right around this area. We have a senior VP of merchandising for, you know, that lives right in this area. And these are people that live at Savoy currently. So, and we have, you know, we're close to some office over there, but there's a lot more office that we're closer to here. So we really think that that'll have an impact. And even, like I said, even during, you know, COVID itself, our residents, people like our dens because now they've got an easy home office. They like the fact that our you know, units are a little bit larger because they've got room to be able to spread out and work at home. So we're really doing well, you know, in amongst the COVID, even amongst ourselves. But when I look at the people that are renting there now, and the closer we are to these locations, I mean, we've got CPAs. These are people that work right here that could easily walk over, you know, to their office.
Well, I know that to Savoy early on, I believe it was termed the medical apartments because you would have two young professionals, one that worked in Cincinnati and one that worked in Dayton. And being in Westchester, we were kind of uniquely positioned, almost at, not quite at the midpoint, but we were easy on the Interstate 75 to go north or south.
Right.
So.
Very good. Any other questions?
No, I don't.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your
Thanks, Ms.
presentation.
Copper.
At this time, I'll call forward any residents, property owners, business owners that would have a proponent testimony that is in support of this project. Support. If you wouldn't mind giving us your name and address for the record, Chris.
Yes, so you can see who I am. I'm Chris Wannenberg, Director of Development of Schumacher Dugan Construction. I live at 8132 Dimmick Road, Westchester. Oh, it's been a while. We've been wanting to do something here for a long time, folks. And we've tried several different alternatives. And entrepreneurship and capitalism has succeeded. We've got people who want to invest in Westchester, build a beautiful facility, and they have a tremendous track record. Our company's worked with them on several projects, and we're very happy that they're here. And we think their product is exactly what this place needed. By owning 5 acres of vacant property right in front of it, I can tell you that whatever mixed use is needed, we'll be glad to mix it. Okay, but we needed the residential component of, as they say, boots in the feet, or in the street, feet in the streets, on the street, there, all the time. Will do a tremendous impact for the existing businesses. I think that they may become more entrepreneurial and expand their projects as well as we will. The problem with trying to do a mixed development where everything's mixed in the same building, really, it started there. People have tried to do it. They find it difficult. The people that do the residential, especially the residential by choice renters, do their business and they're very good at it. Most of them don't want to get into the renting lease space. They rent lease space, but they rent it to individuals who are going to live there. But renting lease space to businesses, I know our success with it hasn't been exactly tremendous. We do much better with office space because they tend to be a little more stable. than some of the commercial shops and retail that's there. But by letting somebody who's an expert at building the residential portion of this project, I think we ensure that it's going to be successful. That part will be successful. If that part's successful, then it's up to the rest of us around them to build our own successes off of that base. And I can't support this project more. And we're looking forward to have it start and finish and be occupied. And as our experience with Savoy was, and of course we sold the property to Hills to build Savoy and watched it excitedly through the process. And I do know that they had waiting lists wanting to know when that building was going to be completed so they could start moving in. And they get in there and they'll finish a project. They won't get a part of the way through. We are very excited about it. We think it's a beautiful project. We think it will be the finest project. Savoy was the finest apartment rental residence in Westchester when it was built. I think this one will be just a little bit more.
2.0.
So we're very, very enthused about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Any other proponents to this project? Seeing none, any opponents? Anyone against this project? I ask again, any opponents? Seeing none, any neutral parties? Any just additional information anyone wanted to share? Seeing none, any other questions or comments from my fellow trustees?
No, ma'am.
Tim, will you read the resolution, please?
This is Resolution 35-2020, approving a zoning map amendment and preliminary development plan for case ZMA 08-20 Westchester Town Center, the residence at Clock Tower. Be it resolved that on the basis of the above actions and findings, the Westchester Township Board of Trustees does hereby concur with the Westchester Township Zoning Commission and does hereby approve the zoning map amendment from CPUD, Commercial Plan Unit Development District, and CBD, Central Business District, to RPUD, Residential Plan Unit Development District, and Preliminary Development Plan. There are 21 conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson.
Thank you.
At this time, I declare closed the public hearing for case number ZMA 08-2020. We will move on. We do have additional executive business, so executive session business. So I will entertain a motion to recess our regular meeting, go into executive session with legal counsel for the reasons previously read into the record.
So move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Mr. Jones, roll call, please.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes,
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
we are in recess.
We're returned from executive session, and now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn executive session and resume the September 8th regular meeting of the Westchester Board of Trustees.
I so move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Jones, roll call, please.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes. We have concluded all of tonight's business action items, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the September 8th.
Also move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Jones, roll call, please.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes,
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
we are adjourned.
Thank you.